Welcome to the Cold Cases. We're here with Cruz Cordova Jr. We're talking about his father, Cruz Cordova Sr.
Yes.
Cruz Cordova Sr. was a Vietnam veteran, and he died mysteriously. Well, it was ruled suicide, but then there's a lot of things, that are inconsistent, that the investigation was bungled and all types of stuff. So we're just going to get into this. This may be a longer episode because we have so much to cover in this episode. So, Mr. Cordova, who was your dad as a person?
My father, Cruz Cordova Sr., he was a retired aircraft mechanic. He worked at an Army depot. He built helicopters there in Corpus Christi. He was a government employee, and prior to that, he was an U.S. Army paratrooper during the Vietnam era. And so he retired, and he lived in Corpus Christi. He retired, and he moved out to the country.
Mm-hmm.
So he ended up in a little town called Woodsboro, Texas, and he was divorced from my mama. So he moved out there with a common law wife or a life partner, whatever you call it. But they never
Mm-hmm.
they never got married, but they shared a residence out there in that town.
Yeah. Now, your background. Okay. So first of all, you knew things were messed up in this because of your background. So tell us a little bit about your background and maybe your wife's background as well.
Okay, yeah. For 26 years, I worked in state and federal corrections. I started off with Texas Department of Criminal Justice here in McConnell unit in Beeville. At the time in the 90s, it was one of the most violent prisons in the United States. And
Wow.
I did a little over 5 years there, and then I moved on to the federal system. I worked at Federal Correctional Institute in Texarkana, Texas, and then I transferred to Houston, and I retired from the Federal Detention Center here in Houston, downtown Houston, and it's an administrative jail, is what it is, and you have all security levels in there. So, December 2020, I was done with prison work, and I went ahead and retired. So I have a
Nice.
law enforcement background. My title is retired federal officer, and
And
my wife
and
is a police
yeah,
officer
yeah.
as well. She's currently a police officer over 20 something years. So we both have criminal justice backgrounds.
Wow. So you know exactly what was going on with this, and that's why you hired a forensic pathologist and a forensic criminologist to investigate this because you knew exactly what was wrong.
Yeah, it when they first gave me my father's death notification, um, at first I noticed they had called me and it was a deputy from Refugio County, and he said, "Mr. Cordova, can you call me back when you get a chance?" And I told my wife, "This isn't going to be good." So I
Mm-hmm.
called the gentleman back, and the deputy went on to tell me, "Is your father Cruz Cordova Sr.?" I said, "Yes, sir. I'm Junior. Your father has passed away. You know, he was found deceased." And I said, "So, how did it happen?" And he tells me, "Well, he took his own life." And I was like, "Okay." And his wife, his girlfriend, Margaret, is. He
Mm-hmm.
goes, "Oh, she's fine. She's at the house distraught." Okay, so let me back it up. Why I did that, and that was my first flag right there.
Mm-hmm.
A few months back, Margaret got real sick, and she was in the hospital, and she had gangrene in the intestines, and it was prognosis was just grim. My father thought she was going to pass away.
Mm-hmm.
He was hospitalized for like over a month in Victoria, Texas, and he had told my sister, "Hey, if something happens to Margaret, I'll probably just wrap my car around a tree because I wouldn't know what to do without her."
Mm-hmm.
So my sister was worried and kind of talked to me. I said, "He's fine. I mean, he's just, he's hurt. He's sad." So when the
Yeah.
deputy told me that he took his own life, I was like, "Well, where's Margaret?" "Oh, she's at the house distraught." I was like, "It wasn't supposed to happen like that."
Yeah.
I was like,
Now,
"No, no, it's not adding up."
yeah. Now let's get into this. Okay. So he reportedly left without his phone. Well, no, let's get into the gun residue. So the sheriff's department stated that they didn't check the box to see if he had gun residue on his hand. And
Right, right.
then your pathologist said he that he didn't have gun residue on his hand,
Right,
which and also there was inconsistent. I'm posting the picture of his gun placement in the post,
right, right,
and his gun was placed incorrect, like it doesn't follow the same pattern as most suicides.
right.
So can you tell me more about that?
Well, yeah, what happened is um, when they told me it was suicide, and I said, well, I called them back and I said, well, are you going to make sure it was? They said, Mr. Cordova, we bagged your father's hands and he's going to be sent for an autopsy. And when they
Mm-hmm.
do that, they're going to test for gunshot residue. And I was like, okay, uh, okay. So if he's got, and I told myself, if it's on his hands and it comes up, well, I can accept it. But little stuff wasn't adding up, in the
Yeah.
meantime,
Yeah.
so
Oh, yeah. Okay. And then here's the other thing is this, I want to bring this up in the first part too. So according to your attorney and yourself, what and the sheriff's department, um, Tammy, one of the first, or no, it wasn't Tammy, it was the other officers who arrived first.
right. Chief Deputy
They were
Rosas.
supposed,
Chief
yeah, they
Deputy
had
Rosas.
cameras on, it said in the report, but then the only one they released to you is Tammy, who came later.
Right.
And then they're saying they can't release it because they don't have it, but then they told you they had it.
Right, right. Yeah. In us trying to get answers, our attorney, Casey Broadbrick, who we retained to help us, and that's another story, trying to get an attorney to help. Um,
Hmm.
we were provided one body cam by the lead detective, Cammie Gregory, who was in charge of my dad's so-called investigation that was only 2 hours long. We noticed in her body cam footage that all the other officers were running their body cam because the axons, what they do is they light up red when they're recording. So all the
Hmm.
officers were running body cam, and then Tammy herself was taking digital pictures. You can see her with a digital camera taking pictures. Those were real important because there wasn't much to go on. But these experts that we're having to find that are re-examining the case, they need high definition pictures to see blood patterns, spatter, residue, stuff like that. So
Hmm.
if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna move on from that and talk about, okay, there's some other things that don't add up. So he reportedly left without his phone, something he never did.
No, no,
And then also Margaret said that she cooked for him the day prior,
right,
and he was always the one that cooked.
right, yeah. Because when I got the death notification, I called Margaret, and she starts, crocodile tears. Oh, mijo, and she's telling me it's bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm up. He left the day before, and he said he was going to go drink some beers and stop by the HEB, and he'd go to the cabin, and he was going to drink some beers, and he took his ice chest, and I was thinking right there, and I was like, ice chest, because my dad was at a point he walked with a cane. He only put 4 beers in a little grocery bag, plastic grocery bag. That's
Hmm.
all he could carry. So it was
Yeah.
like a whole ice chest. And then she goes, and I cooked him dinner and he never came back. And the woman never cooks. Okay.
Yeah. So you knew something
The
was up
woman
then.
never cooked. And then
Yeah.
they were fighting that week and the previous week because me and my sister and, my dad's stepson, we were talking to each other because we were trying to get them a provider. Margaret
Hmm.
didn't want a provider. And
Yeah.
there was a provider that was supposed to start that week. Margaret called her and told her, "Don't come in. We don't need you." And my father told her, "Why did you cancel the provider?" She goes to tell him, "Well, she doesn't cook. We don't need her." And he goes, "That's fine. I do all the cooking. Just let her help her. Let her help come clean up around the house, help us pick up and stuff." And she was like, "No." Okay, so that was it.
And the other thing, which so one of the things that another part of that is Margaret. I'm guessing she was kind of able to go visit him at the fish place where he was fishing, which is like 2 minutes away. It's less than a mile away,
Yeah,
you
it
know.
is. It's
And instead, it, I don't know. There's just all kinds of things that are wrong with this,
Yeah, yeah. If your wife cooks you dinner and she's gonna go get you to come eat that dinner. You know what I'm saying? She's
Yeah,
gonna jump in
yeah,
the car and go get you and bring you back and have you eat that dinner. That
right.
never occurred. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
My
yeah.
sister went the next day after we found out he had died, went to the house, Margaret's house, and she saw like the hamburger helper still on the stove, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and okay, I don't know if you want to get into this, but apparently there was motive, with inheritance and that kind of stuff. I don't know if you want to get into that at
Well,
all.
it the red flags on that was my father had just died. My sister and I are trying to make funeral arrangements. Luckily, my father was a veteran, and
Hmm.
but we still had to get everything done through the veterans, you know?
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
didn't have nothing to go on, and Margaret wasn't offering any help. But what she did say when my sister called her about, hey, did Dad have life insurance or something, and she was like, well, I don't know, but I need death certificates, and we're like,
Hmm.
the guy just died. She says she needs
Yeah.
death certificates because she's got bills she's got to pay, so we were like, what? So that was a big red flag right there. It was like, can we bury our dad first and then we could do the
Yeah.
business end of it?
Yeah.
No, right
It,
off the
it, it
muscle, she
seems
was,
it seems inconsistent with like somebody who's been a common law wife for 30 years, should be grieving and
didn't go to the wake.
instead.
She didn't go to the
Yeah.
wake and she didn't go to the funeral, and neither did my dad's stepson.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. After 30
This
years, they didn't even show their face.
this is a case that I've never seen this before. I mean, it should definitely be reopened. Everything,
Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. So,
Yeah.
so back to my dad's hands being bagged. They sent in Refugio County, the nearest town is Nueces County, which is Corpus Christi. They couldn't do the
Hmm.
autopsy there because they were having issues with botched autopsies and all this other stuff. And I guess they were over government oversight. So they couldn't
Hmm.
send them there. So they sent them to Fort Bend County outside of Houston. Well, so you send it from one county, you send it to Fort Bend. The autopsy was done. And when the sheriff's department, puts what they want done, they're supposed to check off the box, test for GSR. It wasn't checked off. And I talked to the medical examiner. She said, Mr. Cordova, I get a body, you know what I'm saying? And it asked me, how did this person die? I don't know specifics. I just say it's a gunshot wound to the hand, to the head. And then she goes on to tell me, and I saw his hands were bagged, but they weren't requesting to be tested for GSR, you know? So
it seems like either negligence or something worse. I don't know what to think about this. I
yeah,
mean, I think it's just willful negligence.
it's
That's what I hope it is.
yeah. Well, if you ever get a chance to look at the body cam footage, you'll
Hmm.
just see it's like, oh well, he must have done. It's a guessing game, It was just like
Yeah.
it was nothing based on experience, science, or well, he must have done this and he must have done
Hmm.
that, and this.
Is it is it really is it really because like maybe they don't get a lot of experience with those type of things there?
Yeah, but if you need help, ask for help. You know what I'm saying? If
Yeah.
it's over your head, what's so?
Yeah.
All they had to do was the sheriff. Hey, sheriff, we need help. Can you get the Texas Ranger? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Can you bring
Yeah.
out? Can you call a neighboring county to come see if they could help us out with this? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know.
It's just like Dumb and Dumber. Let's just. Oh, he did
Yeah.
this and this happened, and where's the nurse that found him? Oh, she left. Oh, okay. Nobody.
Yeah, they didn't even interview the
No,
nurse.
yeah, there
They
was a
didn't.
there was a home hospice nurse. She does home health care as well. Margaret had a standing appointment when at the cabin months, probably for years. She would go see Margaret there about the same time, a few times a week. And the reason she would meet Margaret there is because Margaret was a pack rat. She was a hoarder. Didn't throw
Hmm.
nothing away, and the house was hoarded. And she'd go to the cabin. The cabin was presentable, and she would see the nurse there.
Hmm.
Well, the nurse shows up, and she didn't know who this guy was in the chair. She was looking for Margaret, and she sees that, oh, there's something wrong with this guy. He looks dead. She runs out and
Hmm.
calls the police. Police shows up, and whatever she told the dispatch when she made the call, they went with that, and she left.
Oh, I see. Okay.
She burned
Okay.
off. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like, they didn't get the story why she was there, who she was seeing, and apparently when she
Yeah.
called the dispatch, they said, "Yeah, I'm here to see a patient, but I called her. I didn't tell her what happened, but there's somebody dead here." And what I told her was, "I came here, and where are you?" And Margaret stated to her, "Oh, I'm at a friend's house up the road."
Yeah. And the other thing so there were over the counter pills scattered everywhere. Another thing is that he wasn't a heavy drinker. He would only drink 4 beers.
Right.
Like you told me, he would only drink 4 beers because he had to caretake for Margaret. So, and then his system had a lot of alcohol and like all these drugs and everything. And the pathologist said that he would have to have been incapacitated when he killed himself.
Yeah.
Or am I putting words in the pathologist's mouth?
No, basically with his blood level, blood alcohol, he probably had about twice the legal limit in his system if you're going off that. And he had
Hmm.
prescription hydrocodone and diazepam, which is like
Yeah.
Valium, to help.
It just doesn't add up to who he was as a person.
No, no, I could see him, drinking and taking a nap, and that's when something bad happened to him,
Yeah.
and that's why we wanted the digital pictures, because when I look at the pictures of my father, so let me back up a little bit. When I got the autopsy report, first thing I looked was for the gunshot residue, and then I'm like looking over the report. I'm like, it wasn't tested for gunshot residue. What's going on here? I was livid. I was like, oh, this
Yeah.
this was going to be my closure. Okay, so if it
Yeah.
tested positive, I'd be like, okay, my dad did it. But I was
Hmm.
like, what's going on here? So I called the detective and I said, hey, I got the autopsy report. Why wasn't my dad's hands tested? And
Hmm.
she was like, oh, the justice of the peace was supposed to mark off something and let them know that that's what needed to be done. So everybody's
Yeah.
throwing everybody under the bus. But
Well, I'll tell you, being from Oklahoma, I'm just gonna add a personal story here.
go ahead.
Being from Oklahoma, I've heard many stories of people drugged them
Mhm.
and then had them die because of that, because they either knew something or something else.
Right.
That's how things work in those areas, and I won't say who's behind that type of stuff,
Yeah.
but I think we both know about those type of stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So, yeah, being a small town, everybody tries to, I guess, get along and not make waves. So,
yeah,
um,
and I'm sorry to interrupt you when
no.
I was telling you that. That's just stories I know from living in
Oh,
Oklahoma
yeah.
and
No,
being
no, no. It goes
being
on.
being along a path of road that is, or an area where I-40 runs through there.
Right.
So yeah. I'm sorry I cut you off there.
No, that's fine.
But what were you wanting to share?
When I noticed on the autopsy report that they didn't test for GSR, I was like, where am I going to get answers from? Because the Refuria County Sheriff's Department, they're like, well, he committed suicide. That's it, we're done. And I was like, but that my closure was the positive for GSR, which wasn't the case. They didn't even test. So what I did is I told the lead detective, well, how do I get a police report? And she goes, well, you already picked one up. And I said, no, I didn't. She goes, yes, you did. And I said, I live in Houston. When did I go get it? And
Oh,
she goes, well,
wow.
somebody came to pick it up. Well, it turns out my dad's stepson had already run over there to get a copy of the police report.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, weeks back. And yeah, so I was like, well, why does he need a copy of the police report?
Yeah.
He's their caretaker, but he lives in Austin. Why does he care so much? I was like,
Uh-huh.
we didn't even bury my dad yet. And he's already getting a police report. And
Oh, that's
John was also bugging the justice of the peace who ruled my dad committed suicide. He was going by their office trying to get copies of the death certificate, but he wasn't legally next of kin, so they were going to go to me and my sister.
oh my
So
gosh.
yeah,
That's very telling right
so
there.
once I looked at the police report, I looked at the crime scene photos. I was like, no, 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 no. It's
Yeah.
all wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was up for days studying. I said, I'm going to have to find the answers myself
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
compile what's wrong with this and, go back at the sheriff and say, hey, guys, y'all did this wrong. And I was telling the lead detective, y'all did this wrong. There's stuff missing. And the first thing I told them was like, okay, so y'all collected everything from the scene. I said, where's the shell casing? It's a
Hmm.
semi-auto pistol. Where's the shell casing? And they were like, we don't know. But it's a
Oh
semi-auto,
wow.
that, you know. And I heard stuff from, oh, one of my deputies must have kicked it on or something, or we figured it fell in his clothing. So when they did the autopsy, they would find it. There was nothing there. There was no
They
shell.
just
It's a semi-auto pistol, and they never found a shell casing.
they seem like the most negligent people that should not be in charge of a homicide investigation at all.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
so with that. Then they started telling me, well, we'll do. The justice of the peace was like, well, we're going to refer his case to a grand jury. Then we'll do that. We'll do some type of investigation. And she ruled his suicide pending. Okay, and that's when she got the autopsy report. It was pending. Issued out death certificates pending. But we just found out like a few months ago, and we're already in 2025, and this happened in May 31st of 2023. 2 weeks after she told me they were going to do an investigation, she ruled it a suicide. So she amended the
Oh
death
wow.
certificate
Yeah.
2 years ago, and I just barely found out, just by
Yeah.
chance. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Oh
yeah.
my gosh. Well, I thank you for sharing this with me, and
Yeah.
um,